How do you do, fellow kids? How are y'all doing? I am great. Thank you so much for asking. It's me. I'm here. I made it. I hope your holiday weekend is off to a great start. Obviously, July 4th is not the real Freedom Day, but I'm excited to go to Oklahoma and hang out with my family. And they're going to meet my boyfriend. Honestly, I'm excited because this is truly the first real family gathering we've had in over a year. And frankly, I don't know if y'all watching the news, but this probably gonna be the last family gathering of the year, if you catch my drift. Okay, the variants are not looking great. Hi. Hi. I'm just trying to catch up on this. Hi. Happy 4th. You know, we don't really celebrate the 4th. It's not really happy. It's a day for cookout and community. All right. So we're here to talk about Bill Cosby and Phylicia Rashad and all of the discourse around it. You know, I am really plugged into the conversations that happen online on various social media platforms. And sometimes I feel like I get the gist and I understand the feeling, but the details are not quite right. And I'm a stickler for details and facts. And so, I'm primarily driven by curiosity. So I decided to do some digging into what exactly happened here and what the consequences are, and also do a little bit of digging on Phylicia Rashad and the things that she said about Bill Cosby recently and in the past. So let's go ahead and get into it. All right. Not Phylicia Rashad. Oh, before we really get into it, I have to say trigger warning. Trigger warning, trigger warning, trigger warning. I am going to be getting into some pretty graphic details and reading some pretty graphic recounts from Bill Cosby's victims, or I guess I have to say alleged victims, but what they say happened to them. Now, this was a photo taken of Bill Cosby right after he got to his home. Look at him raising the fucking V for victory like he's fucking Nelson Mandela. Now, look, I'm not a carceral feminist. I don't believe in that. Y'all know my feelings about the prison industrial complex and the failures of it and how it really fails to meet our needs, right? It really fails to address harms. But that is quite an image, for sure. Bill Cosby freed from prison, his sex conviction overturned. This is from the AP, June 30th. So what happened here? I did a little bit of a deep dive, and it looks like the Pennsylvania Supreme Court overturned Bill Cosby's conviction, right? And so after doing some reading and watching smart people with law degrees, I figured out that this was not a technicality. So what happened was Bill Cosby was prosecuted by the Montgomery County District Attorney, right? But in 2005, a different district attorney, his name was Bruce Castor, he was in charge of the case of Andrea Constand, who accused Bill Cosby of raping her in 2004. And she brought charges against Cosby in 2005. So Bruce Castor actually, look, here's the quote. Let me make it bigger because y'all can't see that. This is talking about Bruce Castor. It reads, the suburban Philadelphia prosecutor who originally looked into Constand's allegations. Montgomery County District Attorney Bruce Castor considered the case flawed because Constand waited a year to come forward and stayed in contact with Cosby afterward. Castor declined to prosecute instead encouraged Constand to sue for damages. Okay, so Andrea Constand in 2005 accuses Bill Cosby of rape, of drugging her and raping her. She goes to the police, which is what we're supposed to do, right? Oh, let me make myself bigger. Aren't we supposed to do that? y'all said we were supposed to go to the police. And she goes to the district attorney and he says, oh, like, this is not going to be a good case. So we don't have legal standing to pursue charges criminally. So what you should actually do, like, you have a better bet in pursuing damages civilly, right? Which is where you get a payoff, right? A payout. And so she does that. And then Bill Cosby decides to sit for a deposition, right? And he's asked all of these questions. If I'm remembering correctly, the actual like transcript of the deposition is over 1,000 pages long. And Cosby makes a deal with the DA that in order to sit for that deposition, that the DA will not pursue any criminal charges. That is what they tell Cosby at that time in 2005. So he reveals all of this stuff about how he has lots of prescriptions for drugs and he gives them to women, and he's been having sex with 19-year-olds for 50 years and he knows how to pursue them. And no, he doesn't get explicit verbal consent, but he can read body language. And he's detailing all of this stuff, knowing that he's made a deal with the prosecutor that he's not going to go to jail. They're not going to pursue criminal charges. He's off scot-free. That's the deal. So at the end of that civil lawsuit, he ends up paying out Andrea Constand $3.4 million, and it's done. And not until 2015 do the new district attorneys come in, and the deposition, those records are unsealed, and then they decide, oh, there's enough here for us to pursue criminal charges. And it's right before the statute of limitation is going to end. So they decide to completely disregard the agreement that Bruce Castor, the DA from 2005, made. And they say, oh, I know that the other person here said that, but we're not going to adhere to that. So then they pursue charges. It goes to trial. He goes to trial. Bill Cosby goes to trial for sexually assaulting Andrea Constand. In 2017, there was a mistrial. And prosecutors, they gon' keep trying you. They gon' keep bringing it to trial. In 2018, they have a new trial. 5 other women who say that Bill Cosby did to them what he did to Constand testifies. And then he is convicted and sentenced to 3 to 10 years in prison. So what the Supreme Court of Pennsylvania said was, you can't do that. It was illegal for the original district attorney in this case to say, if you testify, then if you sit for the deposition, then we're not going to prosecute you. Because the new prosecutors, the new DAs actually used evidence. They pulled stuff from that deposition that Cosby gave in 2005 in order to create the case. And they said, the Pennsylvania Supreme Court said, nope, sorry, you can't do that. Let's actually get deeper into it. All right, so we get a little bit deeper into it with this article from, let me add this back. The Hollywood Reporter, Bill Cosby freed. Experts weigh in on due process. Let's get into it. This is what the Pennsylvania Supreme Court said. They said, we hold that when a prosecutor makes an unconditional promise of non-prosecution and when the defendant relies upon that guarantee to the detriment of his constitutional right not to testify, because side note, Bill Cosby, let me make it bigger. Side note, Bill Cosby waived his Fifth Amendment right to not incriminate himself because Bruce Castor, the DA in 2005, said, just talk to us, it's fine. He waived that right under that promise. Okay, back to this. The principle of fundamental fairness that undergirds due process of law in our criminal justice system demands that the promise be enforced, states the decision, which is embedded below. The impact of the due process violation here is vast. The remedy must match that impact. he must be discharged, and any future prosecution on these particular charges must be barred. We do not dispute that this remedy is both severe and rare, but it is warranted here, indeed compelled. All right, so the Hollywood Reporter sat down with 3 or 4 prosecutors, and they weighed in, and I thought that this was some interesting stuff here. So this is from former federal prosecutor Lori Levinson. She leads Loyola Law School's wrongful conviction clinic. She says, people will see this as Cosby getting off on a technicality, but what the conviction is being reversed on is legal grounds. There are rules in bringing these prosecutions. They can't use what he said under a promise of immunity. Another one said, overturning this conviction was not based on a technicality, as many will too quickly claim, but instead clearly based on the Pennsylvania Supreme Court's affirmation that a critical underpinning of our system of justice in the United States is that every citizen, even those who are famous or infamous, is entitled to be treated fairly and receive fundamental due process when accused of a crime. Okay, here's what more from the opinion. Here, only full enforcement of the decision not to prosecute can satisfy the fundamental demands of due process. Anything less under these circumstances would permit the Commonwealth to extract incriminating evidence from a defendant who relies upon the elected prosecutor's words, actions, and intent, and then use that evidence against that defendant with impunity. The opinion reinforces that a changing of the guard can't undo an unconditional public charging decision. Quote, a contrary result would be patently untenable. It would violate long-cherished principles of fundamental fairness. It would be antithetical to and corrosive of the integrity and functionality of the criminal justice system that we strive to maintain. All right, here is an interesting thought that I saw from a lawyer that I follow. One thing we should all agree on in regards to Cosby being free: dirty ass prosecutors lying and cheating to put people in prison should have no place in the legal system. They put innocent people in jeopardy, and they do a disservice to victims. So essentially, the prosecutors fucked up. And anybody who follows me knows how I fucking feel about prosecutors. Prosecutors are what? Cops who pass the bar. They lie just as much. They manipulate. They hide evidence. They tamper. Absolutely. And that is what happened here. There's no doubt in my mind that Bill Cosby is a serial rapist. I also believe that the prosecutors here acted in a political manner, which prosecutors do all the fucking time. The statute of limitations was just about to run out. They did not have enough evidence. And so they made some shit up. And now they have caused enormous harm to Bill Cosby's dozens of victims. I guess I have to say alleged victims. They've triggered countless people because we all have to engage in this bullshit. This is completely 100% on those prosecutors. The criminal justice system doesn't care about rape victims. The fact that so many cannot recognize that victims do not always look the same. Phylicia could be a victim. She deserves grace. No, baby. No, I'm so sorry. You can be a victim of harm and also perpetuate harm. So we're going to call her out on the harm that she has chosen to participate in, because that's a choice. She could have said nothing. Saying nothing is always an option. All right, let me go here. Keep up the energy. Thank you, eRock20. Love you, appreciate you. Thank you. Love you, appreciate you. All right. And yes, he did 2.5 years of an almost 3-year sentence. Right. All right. Back to the drawing board here. I just want to talk about let me make this bigger. I just want to talk about this shit that keeps coming up. I thought, truly, I thought we were past the he was trying to buy NBC foolishness. I truly did. But I was in a Clubhouse room the other day. Y'all know how I use Clubhouse. I love foolishness. I'm addicted to foolishness. So I was in a Clubhouse room the other day, and I literally heard someone say, well, y'all know he was trying to buy NBC unironically. This is what the shit that we get into. This is the shit we get into when we're getting our news from memes on Instagram, you guys. This is the problem. I went and looked up the actual information about what he was trying to do with NBC. And in 1992, Bill Cosby publicly was telling people, I want to buy NBC. In 1992, that's 29 years ago, he was trying to pull people together to make a bid for NBC. And it's not like he personally was going to be able to write a check and buy NBC. It's not like he personally was going to say, I'm Mr. NBC now. Here's the money. No, what he was trying to do at that time was assemble a group of investors, like Jay-Z does now, assemble a group of investors to make a bid for NBC, to buy NBC from General Electric. And I think this article from the New York Times says at the time NBC was valued at $4 billion. Cosby didn't have no $4 billion. So he was going to be one of many people. If that bid were accepted, he would be one of a number of institutional investors to own NBC. But here's the fucking kicker, you guys. NBC wasn't for sale. So Cosby, when he was back in 1992, again, 29 years ago, when Cosby said, I want to own NBC. And he sent his representative and to tell the NBC execs, we want to buy NBC. And they were literally like, it's not for sale. Like, what are you doing? Like, it's not. So this conversation about he was taken down in 2015 for something that he tried to do in 1992, you guys. Does that make sense, you guys? Does that make sense to you? Can y'all stop, please? It's crazy. Okay. But anyways, he couldn't buy NBC if he wanted to then. He couldn't buy it now. Let's move on. Let's move on to Phylicia Rashad. Okay. So Phylicia Rashad, right after it was announced on June 30th that Cosby was going to be released from prison immediately, she tweeted, finally, a terrible wrong is being righted. A miscarriage of justice is corrected. Now, here's the thing about Phylicia Rashad. I think Black folks in general have enormous good feeling toward Phylicia Rashad and Debbie Allen, their sisters, because they've been in our lives for so long. They're so fantastically talented. They're beautiful and graceful and elegant and just, right? But elders, icons, can be dead fucking wrong. And after spending some time really going through the accusations here and the timeline here, I truly believe that the only way that somebody can put all of this faith into Bill Cosby being completely innocent is by 100% avoiding the very testimonies from all of Cosby's alleged victims. If you really sit down with it, all of the testimonies, all of the people who've come out over the past 20 years, it doesn't make sense to be in denial. It just doesn't. It just doesn't. We're 50 to 60 different women from the 60s to the 2000s. All a similar pattern of behavior. It doesn't. And then you compare what they say to what Cosby himself said. It doesn't make sense. Now, the thing about Phylicia Rashad is she's not just Phylicia Rashad, iconic actress. She is now dean of the School of Fine Arts at Howard University. And I will give it to the Howard alums. I saw so many of them pushing back and calling her out because undoubtedly, people who are enrolled at Howard are seeing this. How can you be trusted with the lives and livelihoods of the people who you have charge over if you are publicly supporting somebody who was so clearly committed a number of heinous acts? You could have said nothing. But the thing about Phylicia, this ain't the first time. Let me make this bigger. This ain't the first time she stepped in it with regard to Cosby. She, back in 2015, gave this interview to a website called Showbiz 411, where she again tried to minimize the accusations against Cosby. Here's what she's quoted as saying: "What you're seeing is a destruction of a legacy, and I think it's orchestrated. I don't know why or who's doing it, but it's the legacy, and it's a legacy that is so important to the culture." Rashad dismisses claims from both Beverly Johnson and Janice Dickinson. "Oh, please," she said when their names came up. She's also quick to defend Camille Cosby. "This is a tough woman, a smart woman," she told me. "She's no pushover. There is no question," Rashad said, "that Camille Cosby has not been complicit or looked the other way as her husband terrorized women for the last 50 years. She said, "Someone is determined to keep Bill Cosby off TV, alluding to people other than the women, and it's worked. All his contracts have been canceled." We talked more about the legacy of The Cosby Show. This show represented America to the outside world. This was the American family, and now you're seeing it be destroyed. Why? That's what she said 6 years ago. All right, I wanted to go ahead and play the follow-up for this because she got called out after that interview, and she sat down, and we're gonna go ahead and watch.
He's a genius. He is generous, he's kind, he's inclusive. What has happened is declaration in the media of guilt without proof.
You were quoted online as saying, "Forget those women."
And that was a misquote. And that is not what I said. What I said is, this is not about the women. This is about something else. This is about the obliteration of legacy.
Because some people might think that it was dismissive.
I am a woman. I am a woman. I would never say such a thing.
All right. Look, I firmly believe that we have to kill our darlings. That, you know, if Bill Cosby was America's dad, then people think of Phylicia Rashad as America's mom, and America's mom can be wrong as fuck. And she's wrong here. I mean, unabashedly wrong. And so after hours of pushback, she published this follow-up, or tweeted this follow-up: "I fully support survivors of sexual assault coming forward. My post was in no way intended to be insensitive to their truth. Personally, I know from friends and family that such abuse has lifelong residual effects. My heartfelt wish is for healing." Yeah. I kind of pity her in a way. She's obviously delusional. Pity is not the word that I would use. No. I wouldn't use pity. No. Oh, wow, she's completely lost in the sauce. Legacy what, child? Yeah. She shouldn't have said anything, right? Celebrity culture needs to crumble. Come on, y'all. Please unfollow them all. But here's the thing, right? Now, at this point, this is not about celebrity culture. She has a job working at an institution of higher learning. Even if she never acted again, she would still be working in the fine arts department of Howard, right? That's the thing, right? Like, rape culture is not confined to celebrities, what they are say or do. It's pervasive. It's everywhere. And of course, Howard got lots and lots of backlash. Shout out again to the Howard students and alums who made their voices heard. And they, on June 30th, also released a statement. Survivors of sexual assault will always be our priority. While Dean Rashad has acknowledged in her follow-up tweet that victims must be heard and believed, her initial tweet lacked sensitivity towards survivors of sexual assault. Personal positions of university leadership do not reflect Howard University's policies. We will continue to advocate for survivors fully and support their right to be heard. Howard will stand with survivors and challenge systems that would deny them justice. We have full confidence that our faculty and school leadership will live up to this sacred commitment. I mean, they did what they could. She's not going to get fired. We also know that, Howard in particular, but honestly, all universities are horrible at dealing with the problem of sexual assault. So yeah, like that's a huge issue for them. And they tried hard to get out in front of it. I wanted to go a little bit deeper into what Cosby himself said about how he engages with women. This is from Vanity Fair. Bill Cosby admits to sex with teenagers, paying off alleged victims, an explosive deposition excerpt. The new excerpts find Cosby under oath describing a sexual encounter between him and Constand, in which he admits that he gave his accuser 3 pills and didn't ask verbally for her consent, calling Constand a liar, and explaining why he had 7 prescriptions for sedatives he apparently never ingested himself because he fully intended to give them to other people. The same as a person would say, have a drink. Bill Cosby accumulated prescriptions for sedatives for the express purpose of giving them to women for sex. And all of his alleged victims are saying, he gave me sedatives and I was unconscious and then he raped me. So 2 plus 2 is 100% equaling 4. Let's keep going. A couple of years ago, the New York Magazine interviewed 35 of Cosby's victims. I have to say alleged victims because he's not been prosecuted. All right. So they sat down with New York Magazine and they recounted exactly what happened to them. I'm no longer afraid. This is the article if you want to look it up. 35 women tell their stories about being assaulted by Bill Cosby and the culture that wouldn't listen. I just decided to just excerpt like a couple of like testimonies from this. This is from Heidi Thomas. I'm sorry, Kim must be collecting a fat check from the Tube for this gross misrepresentation of facts. Let me know what's been misrepresented here. Let me know, because I guarantee you I've spent more time with this than you have. I guarantee it. I guarantee you. I mean, I read pages of the deposition. Let me know. All right. Heidi Thomas said, my agent said we've been contacted by a really, really big person in the entertainment industry who's interested in mentoring promising young talent. I found out it's Bill Cosby. I had the understanding that I was going to be receiving private acting coaching from him. This was the opportunity of a lifetime. A driver would pick me up. My agent was paying for it. That made it all very, very professional. The door opens and there stands Cosby. He's in his sweats and very casual, very friendly. I had a monologue prepared. He seemed unimpressed. He said, "Let's try a cold read." So he pulls out a script. The scene was set in a bar. The character was someone who was inebriated. He poured a glass of white wine and he said, "Use this as a prop. Now, that means you're going to have to sip on it, of course." I really don't remember much except waking up in his bedroom. He was naked and he was forcing himself into my mouth. Again, if you have the stomach for it, you can read that article where there are dozens of women who tell similar stories. All right, I wanted to be sure to get to the super chat here. Thanks, Chelsea. Oh, there's no, thank you, Chelsea. I appreciate you. Next. So this is from a Black woman named Jewel Allison. So the other pervasive narrative and the people who are determined to misrepresent the facts of this case is that it's just a bunch of white women. It's just a bunch of white women from the 60s, 70s, and 80s who are now mad and who are all come together to make up the same story about Bill Cosby. But it wasn't just a bunch of white women. Now, I'll say many of the Black women Bill Cosby victimized, they have a similar look. But they are Black women. This is from Jewel Allison. I saw that there were a lot of negative responses being posted against Barbara Bowman and Joan Tarshis and Tamara Green and Andrea Constand, grouping them in a historical reference to claims that, quote, white women have made in the past that weren't truthful about being raped by, now this is going to get demonetized, about being blanked by a Black man. But unfortunately, with this case, I knew that there was a very strong possibility that these women were telling the truth because I had had my own negative experience with Bill Cosby. And so I just felt like, no, this can't go in that direction. So that's Jewel Allison, Black woman, saying, I wanted to make sure that people are not able to twist this and make it an Emmett Till situation, which people are still trying to do. Y'all still trying to do that. When Bill Cosby was out here assaulting Black women too, allegedly. All right, let me get to thank you, Jessica. First, that's too many people to be fake. Second, YouTube wouldn't pay anything for something about a Black person. Third, Kim does this work 100%. I appreciate you, The Walking Gauge. Let me just tell y'all, this video is going to be demonetized. So if you like, oh, YouTube is paying me, YouTube is going to pay me pennies for this video because of the subject matter. So that is not it. Okay. That is not it. Okay. Would you ever have moderators in chat? Also, you look lovely. Usually there are moderators. Okay. So actually, I need to get some more moderators. Anyways, let me know if you want to be moderators. I'm trying. And then I'll just make you a mod. Yeah, I can do that here. Okay. Thank you for being honest, Katura says, because too many Black people are on code just because someone is Black, even if they are evil. Evil comes in every race. Absolutely. And Bill Cosby, as he was being tried for this, said, I hope the Black media will be fair and impartial, right? Like there is an explicit, in that case, expectation that Black people would be on Bill Cosby's side. Why would we as Black people, as a Black community and many Black communities, why are we consistently choosing to be on the side of rapists? If we care about community, why would you want rapists in your community? That doesn't make sense to me. I liked the Cosby Show as much as anybody. I liked it. It was good, fun, even important for the time. That does not erase the dozens of women, 60 women, who have brought allegations against Bill Cosby. 60! 60 people couldn't fit in this apartment. Demonetization tip. Thank you, Erica. I appreciate y'all. Let me go back through. Let me try to get back to all of the super chats. All right. I think I'm caught up now. All right. Let's move on. Let's move on. Bill Cosby, in deposition, said drugs and fame helped him seduce women. He suggested he was skilled in picking up the nonverbal cues that signal a woman's consent. Quote, I think I'm a pretty decent reader of people and their emotions in these romantic sexual things, whatever you want to call them, he said. So when questioned, sorry, let me get this off the screen. When questioned, the prosecutors were like, so how do you get consent from the people that you're having sex with? And he was like, I just read the body language. How are you reading the body language if they're drugged, Bill? How are you reading the body language if they're incapacitated, Bill? All right. Soliloquy Love, $5 super sticker. Thank you. Appreciate y'all. All right. So something I really wanted to do is go into like the broader cultural landscape from which this discussion about Bill Cosby arises. The majority of the people who have so far brought up these allegations against Bill Cosby are white women, for sure, though there are a number of Black women in there. But I think it's really important for us, particularly in light of the way that we have to push back against somebody like a Phylicia Rashad, who has institutional power. We really have to examine this within the larger culture of the way that Black women and Black girls are treated when they bring up allegations of rape or sexual assault. So yesterday, or actually this morning, I read this article by Brittany Slatton and April Richard called Black Women's Experiences of Sexual Assault and Disclosure, Insights from the Margins. Shout out to you, Ayasha. Oh, Aisha, you have the pronunciation there. Thank you. Shout out to you. Okay, there's been more super chats so far. Let me make sure I get it. Do I get them all? Ashley, thank you so much. Bree, thank you so much. I appreciate y'all. Thank you. All right, so this is important. Let me make this big here. All right, this is going to be me reading a lot of text, but all of this is important. Thank you, Stephanie. You said, I really hate when Black women use the BLM movement and conflated Bill Cosby when this predator targeted other Black women as well. It's so exhausting and disappointing. Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Gaunt. Thank you. Appreciate y'all. Thank you, Mecha Sky. I wish Black people defended Black victims, queer and trans folks the way they do predators. Thank you. All right, let's get into this. Black women's attempted or completed non-fatal sexual assault rate in the United States is 67.9 per 100,000. In comparison, the rate is 33.7 per 100,000 for white women. The statistics show Black women are one of the most vulnerable groups when it comes to sexual victimization, which includes incest, rape, sexual coercion, and childhood sexual abuse. Bisexual Black women are particularly vulnerable to sexual victimization and have a higher percentage of sexual assault on college campuses than Black heterosexual women. Likewise, Black women who are HIV positive, poor, and or incarcerated are more likely to have a history of sexual victimization and may be at greater risk of experiencing multiple sexual victimizations. Victims of sexual abuse suffer from long-term health consequences, including post-traumatic stress disorder, depression, lowered self-esteem, and suicidality. All right, let me make sure to get to the thank you, Aisha. Let's go back to these. All right, I'm caught up. All right, let's get back to it. Mod me, Chris Holmes. Oh, okay. Let me add the mods. Sorry, I just have to take 1 second to add the mods. 1 second, hold on. Because apparently things are out of control. Okay, Chris, I'm logged into the wrong account. Of course I am. Sorry, Chris, 1 second. I'm gonna get to you. Here we go. Okay, Chris, you've been added as a mod. Okay. The doctors, okay, I'm just trying to get to all the people who want to be mods. Okay, Katura, you've been added. Terrell, added. Joshua, added. Okay, one more. Asari, I'll add you. All right. We're going to go back. Let's go back to it. Okay. So I just added 5 mods. We should be back. Okay. We're going to keep going. Oh, sorry. This is a big block of text. Kylie Juarez, thank you for all the investigative and informative work you do. Thank you, Kylie. I would like to be a mod, please. Okay. I can't, you guys. I have to finish doing this video, so I cannot spend the rest of this video making people mods, but thank y'all for, thank you for volunteering. Let's keep going. Okay. Black women are the least likely to disclose unwanted sexual experiences, and when they do disclose, they receive little support. The Department of Justice reports for every Black woman that reports her rape, at least 15 will not report. These numbers are in stark contrast to white women, where for every 1 woman who reports a rape, only 5 women will not come forward. Disclosure of an unwanted sexual experience is arguably one of the most important aspects of recovery from sexual assault and the critical first step in obtaining help following sexual victimization. Disclosure has the potential to provide women with vital tools that facilitate healing and possibly prevent re-victimization. Black women's historical and contemporary experiences around sexual assault present fundamentally unique challenges for disclosure due to their societal marginalization, resulting in differences in the quality of resources available to Black survivors, their willingness to access those resources, and the treatment they receive when they do seek help. Their marginalized position makes them less likely to expose vulnerability, and they are more likely to contend with other traumatic events, such as intimate partner violence and poverty, which lessens their likelihood of disclosure. The lack of legal protection was also evident when Black men sexually assaulted Black women and girls. I just put this up because I found this story to be interesting. I'd never heard it before. The 1897 William Golden case provides a good illustration. William was convicted of raping 8-year-old Hattie Dragan and sentenced to death in the state of Florida. However, white male community members rallied to his defense and petitioned for a lighter sentence, arguing 8-year-old Hattie was an immoral girl, a whore who traded sex for candy. The governor complied and elected to commute Golden's sentence from death to 1 year at hard labor. The case exemplifies how traits of promiscuity and hypersexuality are attributed to Black girls at an extremely young age. the governor would not have made this decision if young Hattie were white. Oh my gosh, somebody gave $100? What the heck? Let me go back through here. Let me try to go back here. Robin, thank you, Robin. I appreciate you. Let me go back. Sorry, I'm trying to get back to all the super chats. Oh, thank you, Laverne. I appreciate you. Thank you so much. All right, let's keep it moving. Not actually her. I believe it's Laverne because me and Laverne are cool. Like, we DM. Thank you. Don't try to come for me. Don't try to come for me, y'all. Okay. Don't try to play me. Let's keep it moving. When a woman makes a disclosure of sexual abuse, especially to a formal support provider, she faces the burden of proving that the assault actually occurred, particularly when she does not show visible signs of trauma. Black women face unique scrutiny when they speak out about their experiences of rape. They are perceived as blameworthy more often than white victims are less likely to have their cases come to trial and less likely to have their trials result in conviction. In her analysis of the Philadelphia Police Department's misclassification and widespread ignoring of thousands of rape cases between 1995 and 2000, Irving argues that far too often Philadelphia officers define the rape accounts of the most vulnerable women who are Black, poor, transient, and/or sex workers, as unfounded and dismissed those cases as they felt they were not worth pursuing. This same police, however, took seriously the accounts of middle-class, married white women in affluent neighborhoods. Irving argues that the actions of the Philadelphia Police Department rendered Black women's rape narratives invisible and thus excluded them from the protections of the law. All right, I think it's important. When I was reading this article this morning, was introduced to a new phrase called secondary victimization. Secondarily victimized Black women are hesitant to continue seeking help and more likely to display post-traumatic stress symptomology. So when they are talking about secondary victimization, they are talking about how we have the initial act of victimization, which is the actual sexual assault. And then we have the victimization that happens when you go to an authority figure, say a college institution, right? Like a secondary institution, when you go to the police, when you go to a parent or a family member and say, this thing happened to me, and then they don't believe you, or they minimize, or they choose the abuser or the assaulter over you. That is what they are calling secondary victimization here. Next. When a Black woman publicly comes forward with a claim of sexual abuse by a Black male assailant, she may risk being ridiculed because her claim may be perceived as an attack against Black men and thus an attack against the Black community. This experience is epitomized in the stories of women like Anita Hill and Desiree Washington. In 1991, Hill testified in the confirmation hearings for future Supreme Court Justice Clarence Thomas. I'm not going to go over that. And Desiree Washington accused Mike Tyson of rape as well. And they were in the same year in 1991, and they were ridiculed and scorned and ostracized. Mike Tyson did, though, go to prison. He was convicted. And Clarence Thomas is still a Supreme Court justice. Since disclosure has the potential to provide women with vital tools that facilitate healing and possibly prevent re-victimization, it is imperative then that all survivors have the opportunity to engage in the process and receive positive and culturally supportive responses responses when they do so. However, the literature reveals that Black women do not have a supportive environment for disclosure. When they do disclose, they do not have the proper support systems and are susceptible to being blamed, questioned, and stereotyped at a time when they are most in need of empathy and intervention. The societal message to Black women when they are raped is that their lives and their sexual victimizations do not matter and are not valid. Are we done? We're finished. Let's remove it. All right, you guys. Are some Black media outlets perpetuating uninformed sentiments? Oh, do you want me to go off on this? Because I fucking will. Oh, I have a rant about this in my spirit. One of the reasons why I do not fuck with the Shade Room, do not. As much as I respect Angelica, the founder of the Shade Room, as much as I think that her story of coming up off the Shade Room is really inspiring and motivating and great, the Shade Room monetizes fat phobia, transphobia, classism, racism, misogyny, rape culture, and they do it under the guise of thoughts. What are your thoughts? Thoughts? And they use that shit to boost engagement. And then they try to offset it by saying, well, here's a positive story. Positive story of the day. No, bitch. No. You willfully put people out there and encourage your followers to descend on them. You willfully put up shit that you know is harmful and problematic and encourage people to say homophobic shit, misogynistic shit, so that you can use those stats, bring them to advertisers and say, look at the community. That's one of the reasons why scale doesn't matter to me. Don't let me go off on this. That's one of the reasons why scale does not matter to me. I'm not deeply invested in it because that's the kind of shit that you have to do when you are trying to have the biggest platform possible. That's the shit that you have to do when you are simply chasing numbers and not integrity. The Shade Room lacks integrity. And there's no gospel artist that you can bring on to offset that. There's no positive post that you can publish to offset that. It's baked in the cake. I don't respect anyone's come up at the expense of other marginalized groups. That's fair. That's fair. I'm trying to go back. Okay, did I got this? Okay. Okay, it's woman's fault. Quit chasing the money and try to be groupie. Try to get next to somebody. What? Oh, sorry. I did not mean to do that. All right. I'm just trying to go back and see if there's any more interesting things. If not, we'll wrap this up. Okay. All right. Thoughts is gaslighting. Thoughts is such gaslighting. It is. Yep. Yes, they do it with Zaya Wade. Anyways, you guys, that's all I have on that. Oh my God. I have to freaking go out of town today. That's all I have on that. Thank you guys so much. I really just wanted to put this together because I just feel like there's so much misinformation and just willful ignorance out there. I just wanted to compile some sources, give y'all, when you're arguing with your family at the cookout, right? Like, here's some links, here's some sources, here's some arguments that you can speak back to, because there's no way that you can read the statements from the women, the op-eds from the women, the deposition. There's no way. It's no way. All right. Is there someone else here? All right, you guys, that's it. I will talk to you guys later. Have a good day. Have a good 4th. Bye.